Hello there, welcome to this section of Beauty for Ashes called Does God Care? Going to be talking about a subject now, I've called it intervention or redemption. I would encourage you, because we're unpacking the whole dilemma of pain and why it stays in our lives. And there's one called God Loves Intervention and God Feels Our Pain. And these are really important aspects of what I'm talking about here. So they're not very long. I would encourage you, if you want to get a really good picture of what I'm trying to share, they are all aspects of this particular problem. But this one, I think, is the kernel, and I want to talk to you first of all about it from the point of view of Jesus, and that is intervention versus redemption. And what I mean by that, I will explain as we go along. Now, it's clear, and I've said this earlier on, that Jesus was a God of intervention. When he was on earth, it's recorded so many times that when he came into a situation of need, he intervened and he met that need. And I'm sure he had great joy doing it. And he said all the time that he was operating in, whether he was healing the sick or getting rid of people that were really tormented, or whether he was actually doing a miracle because people were hungry, or whether he was rebuking a storm because a boat was going down, all of these things, he was saying to God is like this, God is like this, my Father in heaven is like this, he wants to help you. And this is what we're going to be coming to. Does God care? Does God help? And so he had really established that he was a God of intervention. But there was a time, and it started with his life, and sometimes it is true in our life, where the intervention did not happen. That is called in the Bible Gethsemane. Now, he came to a point and he knew that he was going to die. It was very clear that he made it very clear to the disciples that he was under no illusions, that he was coming and he was born to die. But that point came when he was getting really close to it. And like any child calling out to the Father, the Son called out to the Father, and basically he wanted an intervention. He wanted it to stop. He did not want to go through it. And you may have heard the verse spoken somewhere in your life, let this cup pass from me. And so he was begging for an intervention. Now, the little video I was talking about, we're talking about God feels our pain. I was talking about my daughter having to have stitches and being very distressed, begging me to intervene, but me knowing that there was a bigger picture and actually not doing that. But it caused great pain because I loved her. And I longed to be able to stop it from happening. And she was calling out, stop it, please, Mummy, get them to stop it. And Jesus had his own version of that. He was in absolute agony. They say that he was in so much agony that he was literally sweating blood, which is a sign of really extreme distress. And so he was calling out to his Father saying, please, can I have an intervention? But he also knew there was something else going on. Nevertheless, he said, your will be done, not mine. And what was happening here is that there was a dilemma between the small picture and the big picture. Now, I am absolutely sure that the pain in God's heart when he didn't intervene with his son was 1,000,000 times worse than what I felt. But at that point, he was looking down and he could have rescued his son and had his son back. But the whole reason he was going to die was that there would then be many through the centuries, through the ages, many sons and daughters of God that would come into relationship. And so the small picture is he could take the suffering away from his son, snatch him up, bring him into heaven. But the big picture was that if he went through Gethsemane, went through the cross, then the fruit of that will be many sons and daughters. And so he didn't bring an intervention, but he did bring some angels to strengthen. And so at that point, he actually sent somebody in, or some angels in, to minister to him. And so he sent help. He didn't send an intervention. Now, that is really good news for us because he went through that, because he took on the pain of the cross and came out the other side. We can have intervention after intervention after intervention. And if you know nothing about God and you come to him in a place of pain, then I can tell you that God absolutely wants to intervene. That's the very reason that Jesus went through Gethsemane and death, is so that he can intervene. Just a word of caution here. Many of the things that come to my counselling room are not incidences that have happened overnight. In fact, in a way, those are easier to deal with because you just deal with the trauma of that moment and you pass on. But many of the things that come to my counselling room are situations that have gone on for years. They're complex, so they're rather like a beautiful flower with the kind of bindweed all the way around it. Now, if you're actually, if you chop quickly, you actually run the risk as a gardener of actually ruining the beautiful flower in the middle. And so there is, I think, this kind of gradual unraveling of what's going on, so that we can get the help we need and we can blossom as we go forward. And so I would say that the intervention that God gives, sometimes it is completely instantaneous. Certainly there have been times in my life when that's happened. I can bring person after person that you have God has turned up and done some wonderful things. But sometimes it is a gradual thing. But if you are in pain, you've never really interacted with God, and you're calling out to him, and I will come out with a simple prayer of that if you want to. But go on to can God help? Because we're just talking you how you could connect to that help. But suffice it to say, at the moment, he absolutely wants to help you. And from the moment you begin to open your life to him, he will begin to move. And some of us, it comes almost instantly. Others, we look back and see the things really shifted from that moment. And I've worked with both, but the end results have been good, because sometimes the waiting produces a deeper fruit than the getting quickly. And again, I'm sure we'll talk about that. So this is the point I'm making here. Sometimes there is an intervention, there is a big redemption, and in Jesus it was redemption for the entire world. And certainly in my life, and I will be kind of talking about that in the next video, and this will be particularly helpful for people who are Christians that are in the situation where they're, again, walking through something rather than being taken out of something. And I really know what that feels like. So I will be talking about that in a deeper way as in the next few videos. So anyway, I hope you find it helpful. Don't struggle alone. Don't live in a universe that you're going through deep pain and not open out to the God who fills the universe, who loves you and wants to help you. Take care. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.